Another way to say it, there's only one you though.
Thank you.
And you say you leave hope behind, but so many people felt like when prime time left, so did that hope. That people, the Under Armours and the ESPN game days, they came to Jackson for Coach Prime.
Right.
And when you think about HBCUs now moving forward, not only just Jackson State, but the entire SWAC, what is it that they can take from kind of the blueprint that you left that's usable?
What if I told you that having a Hall of Famer as your father might be the very thing slowing you down? At first, it looked like the perfect story. Shedeur Sanders, the golden son of primetime himself, tearing up college stats, pulling endorsement deals like a veteran, and walking with more swagger than a room full of first-rounders. The NFL? That was supposed to be the easy part. First round, no question. Step onto the stage, dap your dad, flash the smile, roll credits. But then the script flipped. Hard. Whispers started turning into headlines. Analysts didn't just question his skills, they questioned his mindset, his leadership, even his quiet moments on the sideline. Ryan Clark, one of the most respected voices in the league, stepped up and dropped a truth bomb so unfiltered it shook the foundation of the Sanders brand.
That they plant these certain reports or they say these certain things and you do hear the word arrogant. Why is he arrogant? Because he won't walk into the meeting and bend the knee, or he won't sit in the meeting and question himself or his abilities or his knowledge and experience in the game. I don't believe that that's arrogance. I want a quarterback that's self-assured. I want a quarterback that can cut the film on, and when you ask him a question about why did you make this mistake or why did you make this throw or why.
Suddenly, the story wasn't about a future Pro Bowler. It was about a maybe. Maybe he's that good. Maybe he's overhyped. Maybe the NFL just isn't feeling all the noise. From potential top 10 pick to falling into day 3 territory, Shedeur didn't just slide, he plummeted. Was it the flashy watches, the viral speeches, the legacy, or something more uncomfortable? Because behind the highlight reels and hype cycles, one truth keeps echoing. The NFL doesn't care about your last name. It cares about tape, toughness, grit, and now Shedeur Sanders is walking into a season where every throw will be judged, every mistake magnified, and the entire primetime empire is on the line. So the question isn't just, is Shedeur ready? It's, can the NFL handle him? Or is the league quietly rejecting everything he represents?
What do I mean he didn't code switch? Shedeur Sanders did not change his identity or how he comes off. He did not change how he comes off for the sake of the decision makers. And who are decision makers in the National Football League? Primarily non-minorities, primarily white people. He did not code switch. He stayed true to Shedeur. I played with
Shedeur Sanders didn't just walk into college football. He exploded onto the scene. Cameras loved him. Brands chased him. Social media couldn't get enough. He wasn't just a quarterback. He was a walking highlight reel with a spotlight built in. Every game was a spectacle. 1 minute, he's throwing dimes on the run. The next, he's flashing a custom wristwatch like it's halftime at the Grammys. NIL deals were flooding in. His face was everywhere. And thanks to Coach Prime's media machine, it felt like destiny had already been written. Shedeur was going first round. Easy. He had the numbers, the poise, the swagger, and most importantly, the narrative. Son of a Hall of Famer? Check. Leader of the most hyped college rebuild in years? Double check. He was marketed like the main character in a sports movie you already knew the ending to, until the plot took a turn. Because while the cameras were rolling, something else was happening on the field. Something you don't catch on Instagram. Shedeur was taking punishment. A lot of it. Colorado's offensive line was falling apart like tissue paper. And every week, he was getting hit harder, sacked more, and running for his life. From the outside, it looked like poise. But behind the scenes, NFL scouts were starting to squint. They weren't watching the pregame fits or viral clips. They were watching the film. The slow reads, the missed windows, the lack of pocket presence. Suddenly, the can't-miss prospect was looking a lot more human. The buzz shifted, the draft mocks dropped, and just like that, the dream started to feel distant. What started as a fairy tale was now teetering on the edge of collapse. And then came the moment that changed everything. A brutal, unfiltered reality check that blindsided the Sanders hype train.
Yeah, teams in drafting because they didn't think it was first-round talent. And the quote we played and that's on the screen, I think is flatly wrong. We all know this shouldn't have happened. Yes, it should have. It should have happened because this wasn't. Now, again, teams can be wrong. The league as a whole can be wrong. Hell, the Baltimore Ravens drafted a 25-year-old tight end before they drafted Lamar Jackson in the same draft. The die is not cast on who Shedeur Sanders will be. The die is cast on what the NFL thinks of it.
Ryan Clark stepped in, and he didn't hold back. For months, the Shedeur Sanders hype machine was unstoppable. Then, like a lightning bolt out of nowhere, Ryan Clark spoke up, and everything shifted. Clark isn't just another analyst yelling from a studio desk. He's a former NFL safety with stripes, respect, and real connections. The kind of guy whose words echo in draft rooms long after the cameras stop rolling. And when he spoke on Shedeur, he didn't sugarcoat a thing. He didn't question the stats. He questioned the substance. He asked why scouts were hearing whispers like arrogant or entitled. And more importantly, why the narrative around Shedeur didn't match what NFL franchises actually want. Humility, teachability, and consistency under fire. Boom. The first domino fell.
Sanders get damn near killed for 2 years at Colorado. And I never saw him berate a lineman on the sideline. I never saw him cuss or scream at a coach. And you're hearing these things like entitled and these little pieces of the characteristics of his personality when we had a #1 overall draft pick get arrested for
Clark lit the match and football Twitter exploded. The conversation didn't end at is Shedeur NFL ready? It spiraled into something bigger. Suddenly, people were dragging NIL deals, calling out Deion's pressers, comparing Shedeur to other QBs who paid their dues the traditional way. And in the middle of it all was the one name no one thought would be doubted this soon. Sanders. To be clear, Clark didn't say Shedeur wasn't talented. He said the league wasn't buying the packaging. And that was worse. In NFL circles, perception is everything. One clip out of context, one bad meeting, one lukewarm quote from a scout, and your first-round seat turns cold. Clark saw the bubble forming, and he popped it. Now, instead of being treated like a top prospect, Shedeur's name started sliding down boards, replaced by safer picks, quiet quarterbacks, coaches' favorites, the kids who didn't come with cameras. And behind it all, the Prime brand started to feel vulnerable. This wasn't about skill anymore. It was about perception. And once the narrative turns, good luck stopping the avalanche. Critics love to throw words around: cocky, entitled, arrogant. But here's the real question. Is it confidence or threat? Because when Shedeur Sanders steps into a room, he doesn't shrink. He doesn't second-guess his ability. He doesn't nod politely and wait for approval. He talks like someone who's been groomed to lead, who trusts his film, who grew up watching greatness in the mirror. And apparently, that rubs some people the wrong way. NFL insiders started leaking stories, whispers that Shedeur isn't coachable, that he won't take criticism, or that he questions authority. Translation, he won't play the game, the political game, the PR game, the handshake and smile until it's your turn to speak game. And that's where confidence suddenly becomes arrogance. But is he really doing anything different from other greats? Tom Brady was obsessive. Aaron Rodgers, arrogant is part of the brand. Even Joe Burrow walks like he's already a legend, but they don't get labeled the same way. They're called leaders. Shedeur, he's labeled difficult. Why? Simple. He didn't code switch. He didn't tone down the jewelry. He didn't dull the tweets. He didn't, yes sir. He's way through interviews to make executives comfortable. He showed up as Shedeur Sanders. And the thing is, for a league still stuck in certain unspoken traditions, That's a risk. Deion didn't raise a robot. He raised a reflection. And now the NFL doesn't know what to do with it, because behind those whispers about attitude is a much louder, unspoken fear. What if a young, unapologetic, black quarterback with media power and brand control succeeds without ever bending to the old system? That's not just confidence. That's dangerous. And in a league where perception decides paychecks, that's enough to spook decision makers before a single snap is played. But now the damage was done, and draft day had receipts. Shedeur Sanders went from first-round lock to waiting and waiting and waiting some more. Once projected to go top 10, his name vanished from the board, while players with half the media buzz and nowhere near the branding strength got their calls. It wasn't just a fall. It was a free dive off a cliff. And when the cameras panned across those empty seats, you could feel the air getting thinner. Because this wasn't supposed to happen. Not to Shedeur, not to Coach Prime's son, not to the face of a football empire whose every move felt perfectly scripted until reality stormed the set. So what went wrong? By draft day, NFL teams had been whispering the same things for months. Was he ready for the league? Or just TikTok ready? Where's the grit? Where's the tape that proves he's elite when protection breaks down? Is he coachable? Or are we drafting a media circus? Some scouts reportedly questioned his pre-draft meetings, saying he didn't catch intentional mistakes, didn't correct scheme questions fast enough. Others quietly noted the flood of social content and the silence coming from football film rooms. It's brutal, but it's the NFL. Logos don't play favorites. They look for certainty. And nothing about Shedeur's media-heavy, brand-forward path felt certain anymore. Top prospects don't drop to day 3 over one bad game. They drop when NFL front offices start seeing maybe instead of must. Even worse, a few insiders hinted that Deion's presence made execs nervous. Drafting Shedeur didn't just mean choosing a quarterback. It meant inviting a cultural tornado into your locker room. Swagger, cameras, microphones, headlines. And if that goes wrong, you're not just coaching a QB. You're coaching a controversy. And in the NFL, that kind of baggage can cost a whole building their jobs. The dream that once looked inevitable just turned into a cold, silent reality. Let's be honest. When you draft Shedeur Sanders, you're not just drafting a quarterback. You're drafting the son of primetime. That means cameras. That means headlines. That means the moment things go wrong, the whispers start. When does Deion step in? Is this kid playing or auditioning? Are we coaching him or managing a brand? And that's the tightrope every NFL executive fears. Because Deion Sanders isn't just a proud dad. He's a full-on media empire. A walking documentary with a gold chain mic'd up and ready for the next viral soundbite. And while that flash helped him take over Jackson State and revamp Colorado, it's also a giant red flag inside NFL boardrooms. One GM put it best. When you draft a QB in the first round, you're tying your career to that kid. If he struggles, they'll want the coach gone. And who's waiting right behind the curtain? Deion Sanders. That's not paranoia, that's real. Imagine this. Your team is 2-5. The first round QB you drafted, Shedeur, is riding the bench while the media's demanding answers. Then the fan base starts hollering. Put Prime in as head coach. Let Shedeur cook. It sounds crazy until it's not. Deion brings eyes. He brings money. He brings chaos. And for decision makers in suits who only trust tape and toe the system line, that chaos isn't exciting. It's threatening. And suddenly, Shedeur isn't just seen as a QB prospect. He's seen as a package deal. One that comes with pressure, power, and the kind of parental involvement the NFL absolutely hates. So yeah, Shedeur might have fumbled in meetings, But the real hesitation? It's not just on him. It's on the shadow standing behind him. While critics were writing drafts of Shedeur's obituary, Deion was already scripting the sequel. And this one's got fireworks. He's reloading Colorado like a man possessed. We're talking trench monsters on the O-line, SEC receivers with chips on their shoulders, defensive dogs foaming at the mouth for a break. Deion isn't just rebuilding the Buffs. He's constructing a redemption tour with laser sight focus. And front and center, Shedeur Sanders. One last year. One last shot to flip the narrative that's been dragging his name through every sports panel in America. With better protection, more weapons, and a full offseason to cook, this is the moment Deion's been waiting for. You think the Saban-style pressers were intense last year? Wait until Prime starts landing body blows with box scores and post-game mic drops. This ain't just another college season. It's a high-stakes audition for the NFL. Every throw will be nitpicked. Every misstep tweeted into oblivion. Every win held up as proof. See? He's still that guy. And you better believe the comeback is already in motion. Jersey retired? Feature-length doc crew? Face of the program? Always has been. Make no mistake. This isn't just Shedeur bouncing back. This is Prime trying to shove the entire narrative in reverse.
Let's talk about what just happened to Shedeur Sanders, because it's not just about football. It's about power, race, and how black athletes are still punished for refusing to know their place. A year ago, Shedeur was being talked about as the potential #1 NFL draft pick. And just last weekend, Colorado retired his jersey number, a rare honor. And yet, when draft night came, Sanders wasn't picked in the first round, or the second, or the third.
Because if this season goes right, Shedeur doesn't just re-enter the first-round conversation. He silences the league. He rewrites the ending. He completes the prophecy. But if the wheels fall off again, if the hits keep coming and the reads stay late, then the critics won't just be loud, they'll be right. And this time, even Deion might not be able to block the blitz. Critics say it's just football business. Just tape, just numbers, just draft strategy. But let's not get it twisted. When it comes to quarterbacks, the NFL doesn't just draft talent, it drafts comfort. And Shedeur Sanders, he made a lot of execs uncomfortable. Not because of a slow release, not because of sack totals, but because he walked into the spotlight unapologetically black, confident, branded, and not asking permission. He didn't clean up the chains, didn't quiet the swagger, didn't sit in front of billionaire owners and code switch to fit the system. And the system noticed.
I'm gonna be honest, man. Like, if you're laughing about this, like, you're probably kind of a piece of garbage. Like, this is not good. And unlike some guys who, quote unquote, get wrong advice. Sure. He didn't get wrong advice. He got the advice, and then the teams just decided, no, we're not going to do it. So I don't know what their thought process was. I don't understand it. I'm sure the stories will come out at some point, but this isn't like a kid that doesn't know.
Because let's be real, quarterbacks like J.J. McCarthy get called disciplined and low drama. Shedeur, flashy. Drake May is laser focused and coachable. Shedeur, entitled. Same swag, different lens. And that's the point. The NFL isn't ready for every QB to walk in with a media empire, a watch line, fan armies, and a Hall of Fame father who might take over your entire coaching staff if things go sideways. They want buttoned up, bland, familiar, because boring is safe, and safe gets second chances. Safe doesn't scare sponsors. Shedeur didn't play that game, and that's where bias lives. Not in what's said, but in what's expected. Quarterbacks are expected to be field generals, but quiet ones. Leaders, but not too loud. Brilliant, but never branded. And when a young black QB disrupts that mold, suddenly it's not just about talent anymore. It's about tone, about image, about control. And that's what this whole story really threatens. Not just the quarterback ranking, but the blueprint of how QBs are supposed to look, think, talk, and lead. And Shedeur, he set that blueprint on fire. This was never just about football. From day one, Shedeur Sanders has carried the weight of a surname that doesn't just echo, it commands. Primetime isn't a last name. It's a brand, a media empire, a movement. And Shedeur, he's been the golden heir since the first snap. But now, the empire's on trial. Because when Shedeur fell in the draft, it wasn't just a knock on a QB prospect. It was a direct challenge to everything Deion Sanders built. The swagger, the narrative, the system-flipping takeover of traditional college football. The aura of inevitability. All of it exposed. The NFL just reminded the world that it doesn't care about Instagram followers, or viral speeches, or family dynasties. It cares about wins, about tape, grit, and exactly who you are when the lights dim and the cameras cut off. And that's the harsh truth. If Shedeur can't outplay his image, he doesn't just fail himself. He risks undermining the entire Prime blueprint. That's the pressure sitting on his shoulders this season. Not just redemption, validation. Because if he rises, if he balls out, reads defenses like chess moves, scores when it matters, and walks back into the draft room with first-round heat, then it won't just be a personal comeback. It'll be a prophecy fulfilled, a new blueprint written, the primetime model proven. But if he slips, if inconsistency creeps in, if decision-makers stay cold, if Deion's media war drowns out Shedeur's football voice, the critics won't just say he wasn't ready. They'll say, "We told you this was a gimmick." Make no mistake, this isn't one player's story anymore. It's a dynasty on the edge, a legacy in the balance. And that ticking sound you hear, that's the countdown to greatness, or to everything crumbling in real time. So, what do you think? Is Shedeur Sanders just Deion's biggest gamble, or the next NFL star waiting to break the mold? The league may have doubts, but this saga, it's far from over.